El Pupas. The story of El Pupas sends us all the way back to 1974 in a European Cup final between Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich. In the 120th minute, Atleti was ahead in the final of the European Cup. However, in the last second, a man by the name of, please forgive me with this awful pronunciation, Hans-Georg Schwarzenbach, that's his name, scored from 40 yards out, forcing a replay of the final, and Bayern went on to win the European Cup. From that day, El Pupas was born, otherwise translates to the jinxed one. For many years and decades in Atleti's history, it has followed a similar trend as the kind of outcasted little brother. And similar to the 1974 European Cup final, Atleti was ahead in the Champions League final to the 93rd minute, where, as we all know, Sergio Ramos came through for Real Madrid, their eternal rival, to send Atleti to extra time, where they would lose on penalties. In 2016, it would happen again between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, the second time in 3 years that Real and Atleti would come ahead in the Champions League. It is important to know the context of the different cultures of these two clubs. Atleti, typically the more poorer club from the south of the city, up against what is seen as its bigger and more richer and more famous brother in Real Madrid, the richer club in the north of the city of Madrid. In 2016, it went to penalties, where, of course, they would lose again in another final, and even worse, to their rival. Atleti has always been known for having the most dumbest ways of avoiding victory when it really matters. Hitting the post, 93rd minute equalisers and 124th minute 40-yard screamers in finals, they always find a way to screw themselves over in European competition. When Atleti was relegated from the La Liga in 2000, a TV commercial came up in 2006 depicting a father and his son, with his son saying to his father, "Why do we support Atleti?" Comment down below your thoughts on Atletico Madrid. Do you support them? What do you think about them as a club and under Diego Simeone? Subscribe, and Mazola Designs for the best football prints made by myself. We only have one Atleti print on the site, which is Saul's goal versus Bayern Munich. So apologies if you're an Atleti fan. Tons of prints on the site. Use code Atleti for 15% off all items. And let's get into the video. Atleti is seen as one of the most collective and most unionized clubs, unbearable clubs in the world. Everyone hates to play against them, but in the end, they've got not much to show for it. They have won La Ligas in recent years, which cannot be forgotten about, but at this stage they really want one thing, and that is the Champions League. And this is what brings us to today. Just last week in the Champions League, the eternal derby was done again. Real versus Atleti, being sent all the way to penalties after an early goal by Conor Gallagher to send them level on aggregate. Atleti would go on to lose in a way that was so unbelievable that it was actually believable. This is embodied in the fan base of the club. Before the game even started, there was a mosaic in the stands declaring a statement from what Atleti does to the fan base. In words, kills me and gives me life. And at the end of it, fate would come through again in a way that is almost poetic, that embodies their entire history. In a penalty shootout, Julian Alvarez scored. To the eyes of the entire world, it looked like they scored in a penalty shootout. There's not even a single second of anyone thinking that it was any different. Penalty scored, we moved on. Federico Valverde picked up the ball and was walking towards the spot to take another penalty against Jan Oblak. Lo and behold, the referee, Szymon Marciniak, symbolised to the stadium an X symbol, otherwise known as irons. Julian Alvarez's penalty did not count, and the worst part is most of the stadium did not know why. When I could think of the most cruelest things in football, I think this could be the reason, due to a law of the game that people probably didn't even know even existed. As Alvarez took the penalty, he slipped and the ball brushed only narrowly off his standing leg. No player would obviously intend for this to happen on purpose, but by the laws of the game, it was chalked off. And the worst part is there was even hope, where Oblak saved Lucas Vazquez's penalty, whereas immediately Marcos Llorente smashed the penalty off the bar instantly, where even a one little glimmer of hope where it could be maybe different came back crashing down. As Rudiger took away that final penalty and galloped across the stadium, every single fan in that arena thought the same thing. It happened again. Even Oblak got a hand on the ball of Rudiger's penalty, and for a goalkeeper of his stature and of his quality, you'd imagine that would have been kept out. But it didn't, and it sadly, depressingly, fumbled into the back of the goal. It happened again, despite Diego Simeone's attempts at bringing the fans together to clap off their players. Something that can be respected by many, the fact remained the same. Despite winning La Liga, despite winning the Copa del Rey, they were still seen as the jinxed ones. But after that, Atleti still had La Liga at least. And they have won La Liga in recent years, so maybe this could be their saving grace. Long behold, that weekend after that Champions League game against Real Madrid came Barcelona at the Metropolitano. Atleti was ahead 2-0 in this game up until the 70th minute, where a comeback came from Barcelona to go ahead to win that game 4-2. Lewandowski in the 72nd, Ferran Torres 6 minutes later, and lo and behold, cruelty struck again with Lamine Yamal from a strike from range taking to deflection and blasting into the back of the net. Another piece of unfortunate events happening to Atletico Madrid, now taking them to be almost outside of the La Liga fight. Things of course is not over from what looked like to be an incredible title race. If Barcelona wins their game in hand, they will be officially 7 points ahead of Atleti with just 10 games to go. Atleti losing 2 games in a row in the league, and with that loss away to Getafe just before, it has been a week from hell. Atletico Madrid reminds me in a way of Borussia Dortmund, a team which has got a lot of energy about them, has got this character about them in different ways of course, but in the end always seems to end up falling short of what their expectations may bring. That may be unfair. Dortmund has won Champions Leagues in years gone by, and they did win the Bundesliga back in the 2010s. However, you feel like they should be more. Atleti by no means domestically has done pathetic. They've shown themselves at certain occasions, but again, you feel like you should expect more. And even this year, the Atletico Madrid has been a good team. They've played really well and made a great account of themselves. But again, this year will always be seen as another failure. Lo and behold, El Pupas will live on for the Champions League, and Diego Simeone will have to go another year trying to make the impossible happen again. And for what I believe is the 4th, maybe 5th time in a decade, Atleti is out of the Champions League thanks to their big brother. So let's end off with talk about the La Liga title race. The title race this year, of course, prior to this weekend, looks like potentially the biggest and the best in many, many years, where it looks like it may actually go down to the wire. Keep in mind, there is an El Clasico near the end of the season between Barcelona and Real Madrid at Barcelona Stadium. How big that game could be, this game could decide the title. Each team has their strengths. Barcelona are the attacking masters of the division. Atleti are typically the most defensive and the defensive most sound team. And Real Madrid are kind of somewhere in between, digging in and getting results at key moments. If you were to look at the predicted table now for La Liga, it is currently 68% likely that it will be Barcelona to win La Liga, 28.5% for Real Madrid, and 2.9% for Atletico Madrid. Barcelona at one stage did look like they'll go on to run away with the title after they beat Real Madrid 4-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu. It looks like, 10 wins from 11 games, they would go on to run away with it. However, a few injuries here or there, Pedri now coming back from injury has been a massive boost to them. And by looking at the XG differential per game to the entire division, Barcelona are by far the best team in the division with a 1.26 non-penalty XG difference per game, where Atleti and Madrid are 0.65 and 0.69. It's almost double in terms of how many chances they are creating. Barcelona should be and will be the favourites for this reason. Now when it comes to Real Madrid, they are typically very well known for peaking at very important times. They're all about timing, and when it comes to the Champions League, they are that. They peak when it matters in those big games. But in La Liga in recent years, it's been the other factor. In the last 4 campaigns, they've dipped in form, meaning that if they are to keep up with Barcelona, they need to go against the grain of what they've been doing the last 4 years. Maybe someone like Mbappe could be a big factor, but having defeats the likes of Real Betis and Espanyol is not going to help them. The biggest difference really could be Kylian Mbappe, which had a really just poor start to the campaign for many people to expect from him. He's been now actually scoring goals and popping up with big moments. And then to end off with Atletico, this week has been hell, with Getafe come back in the 88th and 90th minutes for the red card, the Barcelona comeback, and then the Real Madrid penalty shootout collapse. Yeah, this has been potentially the worst week a team could ever possibly have. But this is the thing with Atletico Madrid. They've got Diego Simeone, and they've got character. And I don't think that will change in terms of them falling down on their hopes for the season. There is still the Copa del Rey semi-final at home to Barcelona just after the international break. The next 3 games is again the most important. Julian Alvarez has been the player that they needed him to be, but could it be enough? We have to find out. All it takes now is one slip up by either Barcelona or Real Madrid, and on May 11th, the El Clasico happens. Near the final game of the season. In terms of a La Liga title race, this could still be the best one in a long time. So comment down below your thoughts, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.